do you ever worry that your creativity might go?
Well, I'm a visual. Yeah, so I did think about, if I went blind, right? Well, I got music to hold back on, and then maybe I could write poetry. I mean, that's the only thought that came by me. Yeah, I don't think creativity goes away. I think our bodies might cease to do things and that goes back to craft.
Yes.
But it depends whether you are stubborn enough to find different ways to carry on with the same kind of work you make, or you just shift location. It's just,
So you're saying that if you went blind, your music would the music would still be there, and so
maybe I'll write a novel. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So your creativity is kind of innate and separate from the particular craft that expresses it. You have a fundamental Ian Wu creative person, which can be expressed through a variety of different mediums.
Yeah. You used my name just early on, Ian Wu, that, and it's almost like a kind of like a stamp that you're kind of like a branding.
Yes, that's what I was using.
And it's hard. It's a bit. I think it's that's. Thank you very much. That sounds like a compliment. But at the same time, for me, early on when you talk about the idea of working with the community or the history of things that have passed and moving to the present and then moving ahead, I always think about making art as arranging things.
As well, sorry,
arranging things.
Yeah.
You're just putting things here, putting things there, front, backwards, inserting one box onto another. Although we always, in management talk, they always say, what's this term they always say? You need to get out of the box, and I always reply saying that, oh, I love boxes,
Yes.
Because we all live in boxes, one box after another, so the sooner you realize it, the better it is. So to me, this idea of just shifting things around, and I think this also deals with the response to about the idea of the future aesthetic. I think we are constantly just shifting things that have manifested as time passed. And as a visual artist, you are shifting images, you're cropping images, you're trying to streamline a new vision, And then with musicians, you're dealing with the same thing, and you're just trying to again streamline a new sonic palette, with things that have existed before. So to me, the idea of originality is this way of shifting perspectives, and perspectives is some people. I mean, the more elusive you allow it to be, I think the better it is, so that you can be surprised by it.
Surprised and playful with it.
I think playful with it. Yes.
Yeah. Because what you're saying, using the idea of music, musicians are rearranging notes because we're using the same notes as Beethoven or Bach used. We're putting them in different orders, we're rearranging them. And the thought that came to my mind when you were talking about rearranging things is that fine art, you're describing fine art as a kind of a miniature version of interior design, where the skill comes in the positioning, the juxtaposition of objects.
Yeah, or ideas,
Yes, or ideas.
Conceptual, you're dealing with ideas. And what I wanted to say also, don't forget, it's not just the arrangement of things, it's also emptiness, the idea of void. Yes. The idea of void is changing all the time, Yes. We all know that voids we think it's empty, but at some point it is not, So these things, how we use this, how we use something and nothing, how in music this is how it's durational. You know, music
Duration
or
of
filmmaking
space,
is always
silence.
so
Yeah,
silence is durational.
yeah,
Of course, silence is a problematic word, which is why I said the void is, you know, actually, you know, there's something there, you know.
yeah.
So that dualism of this idea of something and nothing is part of this idea of how we are all involved in putting things together, you know. And sometimes you just need to have periods where there is nothing happening, which goes back to the idea of waiting.
Yes.
And then the right moment, something happens.
Presumably, on a
Yeah.
larger scale, this must have implications for the way you like your exhibitions to be hung, because the movement of the eye from one work to another and the space between works is presumably very important to you.
Yeah, I think more and more, not just myself, a lot of curators have been talking about this in terms of how we to rethink ideas of exhibition making.
Yeah.
In fact, the exhibition that you just told me early on about with STPI, I had very good conversations with the artists as well as the curator Mark Giode, and we talked about the idea of different ways of experimenting with bouts of space before you arrive at another work.
Yeah.